So you might have heard that Toys R Us has gone bankrupt. They're going to close all their stores in the US. And you might have heard different reasons for that, but you probably didn't hear the most important one. So that's what I wanted to share with you today. So first of all, CNN explains the company told employees on Wednesday that it would close or sell its US stores after 70 years in business. So is it market reasons? You know, you've got Amazon, that's causing troubles obviously for the retail industry. You've got other competitors. Well, let's find out. Toys R Us, debt problems. Oh, debt problems. That's not often talked about. Date back to well before Amazon was a major threat. Its debt was downgraded to junk bond status in January of 2005, at a time when Amazon sales were just 4% of their current level. So Toys R Us started having problems way before Amazon grew into the Goliath that it is now. So that is not the heart of the problem. Well, things were about to get worse for Toys R Us. A year later, the company was taken private by KKR, Bain Capital, and real estate firm Vornado. Vornado also has a deal with the Kushners, by the way. The $6.6 billion purchase left it with $5.3 billion in debt secured by its assets, and it never really recovered. Okay, so, well, was it the debt or was it other issues? And by the way, Vornado's deal with the Kushner family is in regards to buildings in New York City, not related to Toys R Us, to be clear. Now, the toy store faced several other big challenges at about the same time, CNN explains. There was the rise of big box retailers like Walmart, which now dwarfs Toys R Us in total toy sales, so that's fair. But what was the biggest problem? Well, again here, Chris Isadora, writing for CNN, explains the company's biggest problem, it was saddled with billions of dollars in debt. That debt stopped it from making the necessary investment in stores, and that meant an unpleasant shopping experience that doomed the chain. This is actually something that happens all the time. When companies are bought by private equity guys like Bain Capital, a lot of times the private equity guys take out a significant chunk of money for themselves out of the company right in the beginning. They saddle the company with tremendous debt so the company can never improve itself. Here, let's give you the scope of it. Even Toys R Us CEO David Brandon conceded in an SEC filing last fall that the company had fallen behind competitors, quote, on various fronts, including with regard to general upkeep and the condition of our stores, exactly as was predicted. And this is what happens when these companies are loaded with debt. But much of the chain's resources were devoted to paying off that massive debt load rather than staying competitive. When Toys R Us filed for bankruptcy in September of 2017, it disclosed it had about $5 billion in debt and was spending about $400 million a year just to service that debt. Now, there's a lot of different reasons why a company might have debt. That is not illegitimate. And not all of KKR and Bain's investments go south like this, and they don't want it to go south. They want to be able to take money out in the front and on the back end. And so, on the other hand, when they are over leveraged like this, and the company has to spend $400 million a year just on servicing their debt, well, it is very hard to recover it. It's very hard to put in the necessary investment into the actual business itself, to grow the business, to upkeep the business, and to have it be profitable. So basically, I mean, you can call it a vampire squid. If it's over leveraged, they come in and they start sucking the money out. And then when it collapses, they go, oh, Amazon or Walmart. Now those were factors, but they were not the main factor. In fact, that burden, the tax burden, crowded out critical strategic priorities like making its stores a nice place to shop and paying employees. And Bloomberg reports, partly offsetting the loss that Bain and KKR and Vornado is having right now, is more than $470 million in fees and interest payments that Toys R Us awarded the firms over time. So don't cry for those private equity companies, because they had already taken out nearly $500 million from Toys R Us before it collapsed. So understand, when your local stores go down, there is sometimes an obvious reason that you can see with your own eyes, competitors did better. Sometimes there are reasons you cannot see, and that has to do with how private equity is structured and how much debt they put on these companies. And at the end of the day, in most of the deals, the private equity guys get money in the front, oftentimes in the back. They make plenty of money, and that is their job. But some of these companies collapse in the meanwhile, and we never hear of them again. And that's how this game is played. You just watched the video by the Young Turks, the home of the revolution. If you'd like to get the full show, come join us and become a member. tytnetwork.com/join.